everyone, my name is Brianna Reisinger. I am in the biology area and I got my bachelor's degree and specialized in cell and molecular biology, and I'm currently working on my master's in biology with an emphasis in education. And today I'm going to talk about the importance of communication in higher education and what this looks like when you're working with adult learners. I'm going to talk through good communication strategies that are effective that you want to implement in the classroom. I'm going to talk about de-escalating strategies that you can use to calm down a situation about a student who's upset about a grade, and I'm going to talk about why communication is so important regardless of age group. So to begin, I'm going to talk about the three strategies that I think are most important when communicating in a higher education classroom. And my first one, it has to do with creating a safe environment. To me, there's probably nothing more important than being able to make your students feel comfortable and safe. Doing this opens up respect, it opens up comfort, it opens up a whole new world, because your students, if they feel comfortable in your class, then they're going to be comfortable talking to other students and opening up and answering questions and being a part of discussions and the important things about being inside a classroom. The next thing I think is important for an effective communication strategy is asking your students for feedback. Nobody's perfect, and especially as a young professor or teacher or educator, or going into it not exactly knowing all the rules and stipulations and not having much experience, it's going to be very important to ask for feedback. I think this is super important because no teacher is perfect, and you can always work on something to help improve your lecture or your notes or anything that you can give to your students. So asking your students what they think and how you can do better and what you can do to best serve them is going to really open up good communication within the classroom. My last thing I'm going to talk about for experiences, is actually sharing these experiences with your students. You want them to know where you came from. And being able to do this is going to open up a door to let them know you a little bit better. And when you do this, you're also kind of communicating to them the expectations you have for them within the classroom. This is also an extremely important strategy, I believe, because if your students don't know your expectations, there's going to be a disconnect between you and your students, or your student to your student. And it's very important that we make sure that you are clear with your expectations, you're calm, and you're very kind about how you express your needs and what you think you deserve from your students, and vice versa. Hearing them out what they have to say is also extremely important as well. The next thing I'm going to talk about is a challenge that you can face when communicating with adult learners in the classroom. And the biggest thing that comes to my mind, or the biggest worry I have, is that every student basically communicates differently. You're going to have to learn a bunch of different techniques and be able to pick up on things and little facial expressions and people's interests and all these important tasks, because every student is going to have to communicate differently. And sometimes this is going to seem impossible, but the best thing you can do as a professor is ask what you can do and try to watch these things and implement them the best way you can, because you're not going to be able to make everyone happy, but trying to do your best and to ensure that you are communicating good and that you're opening up to your students and they feel the same way is going to help really de-escalate things and make the classroom a safer and more comfortable place. One of the last things I'm going to talk about is de-escalating situations in the classroom. My first one I'm going to talk about is student to instructor, and we kind of talked about this week in discussion posts about how if a student can come up to you about an upset grade and they're just super frustrated, how do you handle situations like this? And it's so clear and important to be understanding and patient and open to hear them. The very first thing is to not get defensive. It's to be calm and collected, open body language, eye contact, making them know that you're listening and that you hear them. This is a very important de-escalation strategy from student to instructor. With student to student and the adult area of learning, a lot of the times professors like when students and adults can figure out the problem between two students themselves. Sometimes, however, this is not possible and this teacher must step in. When these kinds of situations happen, I find it's best to pull each student aside separately, get their side of the story, and then bring them both together with you in office hours or after class sessions to communicate about the problem. These types of things are important, and even in an online environment, getting on a Zoom chat privately to talk about these issues would be a good way to de-escalate a situation. Sometimes you just won't be able to stay out of it, and the best thing to do is to hear both students out and not take sides and be the most neutral as possible. And the last thing I'm going to talk about today, which I find the most important, is how communication and why it's so important to success and a positive outlook in your classroom. Building relationships in school, to me, was one of the most important things that I ever did. And me wanting to do this for my students and any students I have is going to be so critical to building relationships. Having a safe place and building a community within a school or a class is amazing, and it is one of the best experiences, and you can build lifelong friendships and resources and people and networks, and this is so important for further education, especially in the adult world. Life can be very hard, and when you get to build a community like this and you have effective communication, it is super important to student success, and they're able to reach out to students and to you, and this creates an overall healthy environment. Thank you for listening to my video, and I hope you all enjoy it. Thank you.